about canon and popular literature. When I was a kid, growing up, ako yung official na tiga-igib ng tubig. Kasi nawawala ng tubig pagdating ng tanghali tsaka gabi. So, mga 6 a.m. or even early, mga 5:30, my mother would wake me up. Uy, mag-igib ka na. So, ano yan, clockwork. Gisingin ako. It's like elementary yata ako nun. So I had this daily grind of filling up buckets of water. And there were a lot of them in the bathroom. Para you know, for the whole day, may tubig kami. So one of them, gagamitin ko para taliguan ko. The point being, eventually, because I did this every day, routinely, naging ano siya, naging daily space ko siya for meditation. So I would zen out and just fill these buckets of water and think up of this, parang use it as a space to think about the day previous, the day ahead. I would make up stories. Usually at this time, hindi pa ako masyadong gising, and papagising pa lang ako. So it was a perfect time to just let my mind go free. So I think about stuff, I think about life, what kind of life I had then. Diba, palagi na lang ba ako mag-iigib ng tubig? Think about girls. So, over the years, because I've been a journalist for quite some time now, for 13 years. I don't know, for 14 years now. I've had time to in a lot of places, and a lot of unusual places to iron out plot points. Some of them very odd, unusual, pretty odd. I mean, a bathroom filling up water is an easy place to be thinking of stories than, let's say, nasa gitna ako ng riot, naghihintay ako ng interview, nasa gitna ako ng war zone, sa trenches. The point being, whenever I fill up a bucket of water, it never fails to put me in a zen mood. I would just zen out, I would just space out and think up of stories. And more often than not, some of my best stories come from that space. So, some of the stories here, if you check out the book. So it probably wouldn't be unfair to say a lot of my great stories were thought up in the bathroom. Today, unusually, the faucet, the water from the faucet was black. Although, i-contextualize ko lang, hindi na ako nag-iigib ng tubig kasi over the years, naiayos naman nawasa yung service nila sa amin. Except that today, the water was black. When I turned it on, yung faucet, hindi naman, klaro naman siya, pero nung naipon na siya sa balde, maitim na siya. So I said, what the heck? Why is it black? Pero wala siyang amoy. So I'm going, hindi naman siya sewer water or whatever. I tell you, it took a lot of courage for me to take a bath today. Anyway, this black water got me to thinking about yung horror stories and why I write them. And basically what brought me to write the stories in the book. They've really played an important place in the choices I've made as an individual and as a fictionist. I really can't tell you how many times just writing out my fears and my dreads and my terrors on page has saved me from self-destruction, has let me exercise my demons. I'm sure you're all familiar with the word catharsis. I'm sure my Wi-Fi din naman dito if you don't look it up. In any case, it's always a cathartic for me when I finish a story, a particularly horrible one. And I know it's good one because parang nagaanan yung pakaramdam ko. Not only did I clear stuff up in my head, I somehow felt lighter, and not that I solved the problem, but for some reason I had transcended something in my mind about the problem that would let me solve it. Basically, what I can tell you is that for me, I really believe that we tell stories in psychic self-defense because all sensation is already memory. Marami sa mga colleagues ko sa journalism compare the profession to wielding a gun. Journalism is a gun. Parang baril yan, pare. Tutok mo sa tamang direksyon. May masasaktan. So, let's say journalism is a gun. I think by that, as a corollary, horror fiction is a knife. It can be as surgically precise, or as you can use it as brutally as you can. Para kang nag-chop ng meat. Or anything else. Horror is the only genre that is named after an emotion. And really, if telling stories is a way to keep from forgetting sensation and to enshrine it in memory, horror is the most intense medium in fiction that can do that. It's, I think, if you're familiar with the military term, it's the fictional equivalent of it's the fiction equivalent of a shock and awe campaign. There's nothing there but sheer power if it's done right. I don't know if you can count Twilight as, where do you shelve that? Like teen readings, teen horror, young adult, emo reading, canon. Sometimes the point being, sometimes you just gotta say, let's screw subtlety. Let's stop writing about the image of a dew, of dewdrops on the leaf. You know, that has its place in mainstream literature, in poetry, of course, but definitely not in horror. Yeah, dewdrops on a leaf. I just remember NBM for some reason. In Japan, they have a rite of passage for being brave. Before they become, I think it goes back to their medyo feudalistic roots. They have a rite of passage for being brave. It's literally translated as test of guts. The term is kimodameshi. So the people who read manga, you probably know that. So these tests can range from staying at a haunted house with or without your friends for 24 hours, or I think even enduring a run-of-the-mill hazing by a 2x4. Usually teenagers go for the haunted house. It's less painful than the 2x4. And they usually do it in groups. Meron na ngayong, it's been so commercialized in Japan now, this kimodameshi thing. And young kids going for the haunted house experience. Na meron na mga themed haunted house experiences.